Today's guest is someone I've admired for a long time. I'm a fangirl. For years, Camila Rosa's artwork is been instantly recognizable. It's bold colors, striking compositions, and narratives that celebrate diversity while challenging perspectives of feminism and social justice, although she does not think of herself as an activist. Her clients range from Nike to Netflix, The New Yorker, and the Oscars. And she's been honored by the ADC, the Clios, the Society of Illustrators. The list goes on and on. And from murals to gallery shows to global campaigns, she's all over the place. And I am so excited to sit down with and invite and welcome Camila Rosa. Welcome to
Hey,
the
Matt.
community.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited about this conversation. Pretty nervous, but I think I'm prepared to talk about my story and about my life. So let's go.
Great. And I appreciate you taking the time and having this conversation. I think this is one that's very timely. I think this is going to be something a lot of people can relate to. And, I just want to say that if you're feeling nervous, one of the things that this other coach taught me, she's a somatic coach. She said, if you're ever feeling like overwhelmed by your emotions, just shake and wiggle your body like an animal does. It helps like get it all out. And I always now notice my cats whenever I've given them a lot of love, they're just like, ugh. So, and I think it can be really helpful, right? So,
Yeah, it is. It is. Definitely it
I,
is.
I first want to say, because we're just kicking this off, that this is the community. This is a series about creative people who make our world richer, brighter, more beautiful, and the communities that build around them or that they've built. And, this is just a first step into our mission at Much Creative, building creative communities around us. I'm going to start with a question. And
Okay.
this is a super simple check in. How are you arriving today?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to have this conversation. I'm like, um, I don't know. I'm happy. Like, having a good time, waiting for the new season, saying goodbye to the summer, and yeah. But I'm happy.
So sounds like you're arriving with that fall energy we've been talking about, where it's like it's back to school, even though we're not in school.
Yeah, it's crazy, because in Brazil it's different. Like the end of the year, it's like the final season.
Yeah,
So we have summer in December. So for me, like here at this time, like September, it's like spring. So it's like new chapter, new life. And I think for me, fall here is that feeling. I have this feeling about the season. So it's good. I
awesome.
love fall. It's my favorite season. So I'm excited.
Appreciate you sharing that because we're going to touch on the differences culturally between Brazil, where you came from, and New York and Brooklyn, where you're living now. So we talked about this before. You could describe this moment in your life as an image. What would it look like?
Yeah, I've been thinking about this because I think I'm in the middle of a process of like rediscovering myself and my work. Like I feel like I'm in a forest with a lot of different paths to choose because
Mm,
I want to explore my work more in a deep way. I want to try new mediums. I want to start painting again. So
nice.
I have a lot of paths in my way, and I don't need to choose, but I'm prepared to just experiment like with my work. And it's really hard to me to let go something like anything, but I'm excited at the same time. I think I can create like beautiful things in this paths, different paths.
Nice. Yeah, that sounds beautiful. I'm immediately like visualizing in your style. There's like roads leading through like this forest and all of them different colors and
Yeah.
just being really drawn into your work, which has been, something that really pulled me in from the beginning was just the color and the dynamism in which you paint with and these really just striking images, very bold images. And, maybe that's a good place to start. You know, where did this style kind of originate from? Does this have to do with, you know, how you grew up in Brazil, work you were exposed to? Was it the something you found digitally on the internet as like a younger artist? Like how did you kind of get to this really bold, beautiful style that you're working
I think definitely has a lot of influence of music, like some hardcore and punk rock scene. have a lot of this, and a lot of influence on old posters, like to like protest posters, and like political artists. But when I was like trying to develop my style in the very beginning, I didn't know what to do, and I didn't know how I could like have a style. It was so distant
Hmm.
in my mind. Like, how can I be that person that has a personal style? And I started looking around and looking to other artists and other artists, and try to put like different things together and mix everything, and like experimenting and trying to do new things. I think I developed a style. It was more about experimenting, not have fear of mixed things, and also looking, like when I looked back in my history, and I don't know, looked back when I was a teenager, I found that it had something there, like maybe this connection with the social movements, and
Hmm.
the things that I was doing when I was a teenager. So I think when I realized that, I found my style. It was like something natural after some time of
Yeah.
experimenting and yeah, creating.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because you mentioned this desire to try new things, and everything you just said really points to that type of play, right? Like of trying new things,
Yeah,
figuring it out, and it almost sounds like you kind of gave yourself a roadmap there for this new endeavor that you were talking about. Like, when you describe the image of like, oh, well, this is another way to just start playing, right?
exactly. I think I lost a little bit of that during my career, because when you start to do like big projects for big clients, and you have like specifically um, things to do, like the briefings and the things that clients want that you um, create.
Yeah.
Like you maybe sometimes you lost yourself, and when I woke up of this, I was like just doing the same thing one after another one, and I was not happy with that. So I think since last year I decided that I want to do something different. So I went back to drawing like with pencils and experimenting, and I'm in this process right now. I don't know yet what I'm gonna do,
Hmm.
but I know that I want to experiment more and to be more free about my work, to have this
Yeah.
freedom to create, because you know if you don't do that, it's just a job. Like you're just like you're a
Just another
machine,
nine to
like doing the
five,
same
right?
thing. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And that was not the idea in the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm curious, when you say the kind of playing and testing that you're doing lately, am I correct in assuming that some of the recent work you did, I believe you did some smaller postcards that you were posting on Instagram that had you working by hand? Is that some of the like working by hand and using pencil and paint again that you were talking about?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, I'm tired of being just drawing digitally. I think I like that, but at the same time I think like almost everyone can do that. I don't know, it's something that I'm feeling recently. I need to put my hands on things, like trying, because I think I need to lose control of things, and
Mm,
pencils and brushes give me that this freedom of
yeah.
experiment. And when I'm on digital, I'm super addicted to perfectionism. So I don't have that. I don't have this freedom. It's very calculated, and I
Yeah.
don't want to do that right now. So I think I'm prepared to do different things, like with colored pencil, for example.
Yeah. I think a lot of artists could relate to that. You know, this idea that you really get into this groove of creating artwork, especially digitally. So once you open the laptop or open up your iPad or use whatever digital creation tool you're using, your brain immediately goes into that mode of like, it's got to be perfect. It's got to be ready
Yeah,
for Instagram or it's got to be ready for the client or both. And what I'm hearing you say, and maybe this is the advice to the listeners, is like, put your computer away, put the digital stuff down, grab something tactile, and just start scribbling for scribbling's sake because you don't know what you're going to unlock then.
exactly. And sometimes you can discover a new thing during the process. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know, I was doing like a recent project, a logo, and I didn't know what to do. It was an illustrator logo. And I gave up digital. I went to like to sketches and even like post-its like this, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. I want to experiment. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I know that I need to let go. Like even my own style. This is crazy, but I'm super addicted to my own style and the things that I do, and I don't want to lose that. So I keep um I keep doing the same thing. I think because of that, because I
Yeah.
love this thing so much that I can let go. But sometimes to create something new, you need to let go your
Yeah.
own style, your own beliefs sometimes. I don't know. And it's just about experiment. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I know that I need to do something different.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great advice. And I think I mentioned this to you because we did do a prep call for those of you listening, and we went over these questions, and I was like, this might go in a completely different direction, and we're kind of heading there. So you're
Yeah.
bringing up a really good point, and I'm always about following the energy. Every artist that I've either coached one on one or has been in our coaching cohorts has mentioned at some point or another, I really want to try a new style, but I'm afraid to because I'm so addicted to the style I have. People know me for the style I have. I'm afraid if I do a new style, I won't get work. And I'm hearing that from you. There's like, but at the same time, you're like, I need to just force myself to do it, rip the band-aid off, and like, yeah, and I think that that's all this to say is a very common struggle of an established illustrator, designer, artist, what have you.
Yeah, yeah, because I think like for example, I want to do more paintings, and I started to do that in the during the pandemic,
Hmm.
and I realized that I was only replicating my style in the canvas, like the same way that I did in the illustrator. I was doing with the paintings,
Yeah.
and I felt after some time I felt like it was I was missing something, maybe more freedom during the process, maybe
Mm.
I don't know. I was I was afraid of trying new things because I was in love with my style and I wanted to keep that
Mm.
because that's who I am. But
Yeah.
after some time and after like chatting with other artists and some friends, I'm in this process right now to maybe I should try something new. Maybe I should try my girls, like my illustrations, but with a different medium. Maybe it's that, or maybe
Yeah.
it's like doing ceramic and doing my girls on that medium. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like but you need to have freedom in the process, and I think I was very um I don't know how to say that, but I was like, no, I don't want, this is mine
Yeah.
and I need to be on this forever. And
Yeah, yeah, it can be hard to break out of that safety zone for sure.
yeah, yeah.
You mentioned something that I'd love to talk about. You said talking to friends and other illustrators and artists was helpful in getting you to push past that fear. Can you talk about that? Because this is what this is all about, is community, right? So, yeah, tell me more
Yeah,
about that.
it's about community. Yeah, I was like I'm having this conversation with a lot of people like for a long time. Even my friends that are illustrators in Brazil, we are talking about that, about losing control of our work, and also about experimenting, about doing different things, about being tired of doing the same. And I think in the last 2 weeks ago, I met a friend that she's a curator here, art curator, and we went to visit the armory, the fair,
Mm,
the art fair. And we always talk about my work, and helped me a lot to understand my paintings and to try new things. And she believed a lot in me, I think. And she was talking, oh, maybe you could experiment with that and this artist and this thing and this. What about this? And I was, oh my God, I need to paint, I need to experiment, because it's hard to have these conversations with a lot of people, because usually in a different situation, I would be afraid to listen what she had to talk about my work. I would be like afraid of having this feedback, and but at that time I was super open, and she was super honest, and she was giving me tips to experiment, not to lose my work, but to be more free, to
Mhm.
experiment and to look to other artists, and having this inspiration, this first feeling of maybe this is good, maybe this is interesting. I can try. I can I don't know. I can have this freedom. It's all
Yeah.
about that. And yeah, it was more about this conversation specifically that helped me to have this decision that I need to
Yeah.
experiment more. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what it sounds like? It sounds like someone gave you permission.
Yeah.
Like, they
Yeah.
just gave you permission. They said, "Try this, try that." It's almost like being in a kitchen and you, like, have this really strict recipe to follow, but someone's like, "Well, why don't you throw chili powder in it? Or why don't you throw some avocado in there?" And you're like, "I never even thought of that."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
Exactly like that. And she was like, what about like big brushes? Have you tried that? Like with a lot of texture. And I was, oh my God, I don't know. But
yeah,
yeah, why not?
yeah,
It was very inspiring. It was a
yeah.
good day. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think the message for any of the artists listening and anybody who's trying to like break out of their comfort zone is like tap into a friend, ask somebody for their feedback and give them permission to give you full feedback, right? Like don't just like sugarcoat it. Because one of the things we joke about as artists is like we've been hearing our artwork's good since we were kids. You always had your parents being like, "Oh, you're a really good artist. Oh, your work looks so good." Your friends everybody's like, "Your work looks great." And to all those friends and supporters out there, let's just say this. We love that. It's super helpful. But if
Yeah,
you see
of
us in a
course.
rut, we're giving you permission to be like, "Hey, get out of your rut. Try something new."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly like that. Exactly like that.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about your roots in illustration in general, because what might be a surprise to a lot of people, which is surprising to me, was you built an art career as an illustrator without any formal training. And, I wonder what was that like for you? Can you kind of share that experience for us and how that all happened?
Yeah, yeah, because we didn't have that in Brazil. So we just have like design school and art school, but it's two different scenarios and worlds, you know.
Yeah.
And we don't have illustration. But
Hmm.
I got a major in design, like industrial design. So I used to work in an industry doing trophies, which is insane to think about this today. But that was my beginning. And after some time, after I got in a street art collective with some people in Brazil that did wet paste, um, I think I got interested in illustration, and after that I moved to a big city because I'm from a small city in Brazil. And when I moved to São Paulo, I met other artists and illustrators that were living by illustration, which was insane at that time for me because I didn't know it was possible.
Yeah.
And I decided to change careers, so moved to São Paulo. I went I started again from the scratch. Like I didn't know anything. I didn't know about the illustration. I didn't know about those like titles, you know, editorial illustration, product illustration.
Right,
Didn't know
right.
nothing about
Not a lot
that.
of people do either, it's
Yeah,
still very unknown despite the, popularity and the amount of illustrators who are out there.
yeah, yeah. It is something very specific, right? But yeah, I decided to try. I decided
Mm,
to move out of my comfort zone and to try a new career out of nothing. And I was there like experimenting and doing illustration and doing like independent fairs, art fairs, and that helped me a lot to have um, a better idea of what would be if I became an illustrator. But I think the real change was when I moved to the US, to New York in 2016. At that time, I still was a designer, a graphic designer at that time because I changed. It was my first step to become an illustrator. And when I got here, I met a lot of artists and illustrators and doing political work and doing the type of work that I wanted to do. So that's
mm,
why that's when I decided I want to do that, and
yeah.
that's my chance. So I need to do that right now, like
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Wow.
And I started doing drawings and illustrations every day, and I put that on Instagram, on social media, and I created a portfolio, a very like simple portfolio with some digital illustrations, and I made like list of clients that I wanted to work, like some magazines, some websites, like for example like Refinery 29, and that was in 2016 and 17. So I sent an email to those clients, and I don't know, and things happened. Like
Wow.
some people answered me back, and I did the first job to Refinery 29, and I think that changed a lot of my career. Like I never stopped since then,
Wow.
and I think one job after another. And when I moved back after that, after some years, 1 year and a half, I moved back to Brazil, and I created my career in illustration there for 4 years and a half, and now I'm here back. So
Wow.
everything was connected and happened like very fast. But I think it was because I decided to try and to put myself in the world, like
Yeah.
to move out of my city to a great job that I had at that time, and a possible future in my
Yeah.
hometown. And I decided to let go, and that's it. And the rest
Wow.
is story. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. So, you know, just so I want to make sure I'm capturing it right. You had an industrial design degree. You started working for a trophy company, you said, right? You were
Yeah.
making like designing trophies, and you ran into this street art community and
Yeah.
something clicked. You saw
Yeah.
something in there where again, it was almost like permission to do to like expand your horizons artistically, and you found this world of design, illustration, some people call it dillustration, and
Yeah.
you moved to Sao Paulo and you decide to change careers and become a graphic designer, which is
Yeah.
a lot of times on the it's the train on the path to illustrator.
Yeah.
and
Yeah. The
and
the,
then
the middle.
you you come to the US and you're working here and you meet illustrators, again, another community, and all of this to say that something in you got lit up and you decided to do something extremely brave and completely change your career,
Yes.
which kudos
Exactly.
to you. That's pretty amazing. You know, I think a lot of
Thank you.
people listening hear stories like this and it makes it sound and seem possible for them. You know, and so I really
Yeah.
appreciate you sharing that part of your story. We know why you decided to move in 2017. You said you came here to just live in the US and to see what it was like to do graphic design and met the illustrators you left. What was your motivation to move back this time, especially in a climate that is so tricky here in the US?
Yeah, but in Brazil too. So,
Ah,
right?
right on.
It's
Yeah.
that is insane because when I lived here in 2016, 17, I lived like in the first Trump thing, and I moved back to Brazil, and I had the Brazilian Trump, Bolsonaro, for four
Yeah.
years, and I
Yeah.
moved back here, and I have Trump again. So I think it's yeah, I'm getting used to those crazy people. But I decided to move back because I got in love with the city. Like, to be
Mm,
honest, like, when I first visited New York, it was in 2014. I got very scared of the city. It was
mm,
super new to me. I didn't know nothing about New York and about United States at all. It was not my plan to visit, but it happened. And when I moved back in 2016, when I moved the first time in 2016, um, it was like to experiment because my husband was here to work. And in when I moved again in 2023, it was a decision. Like, I want to live in that city again because this city gave me a new profession. Like, it's
mm,
so crazy to talk about that because I know that I pursued that.
mm.
I
Yeah,
I made that for me when I was here, but at the same time, the city helped me a lot to understand myself as an illustrator, as an artist, to believe that was possible to live in this industry. And so, besides that, I love the cultural thing of the city. I love that this city has a lot of history, like especially around music that I love so much, and
mm,
other artists that are super inspiring.
yeah,
So I got in love and I wanted to move back, and that's it. And I'm here for now.
yeah. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I'm curious, what was it specifically? You said the city made it feel possible. Was it anything in particular about being here? I mean, you said the culture and the music, but anything like more specific?
I think this feeling that everyone is trying to
Mm,
pursue a dream. Everyone
yeah,
is. It's like a boat, and everyone is like riding in the same way. It's a movement. I don't know. A lot of things happen at the same time, and you can find your community here. Like, if you love a very specific thing, there's someone doing the same here. And
yeah, yeah,
I love this energy. And I know that I have a very similar thing in Sao Paulo. And but I don't know. Here it's different because maybe because of the history of a lot of
huh,
things was born here, were born here. I don't know how to say that,
yeah.
but
No, you said it
like,
perfectly.
yeah, the punk rock music scene, the
Mm,
like, for example, the hip hop scene, a lot of things born here. So
yeah,
it's interesting to pass by the places that I listen to about or that I read about. It's like it's a little bit magic, I think.
yeah. That's what it sounds like. Yeah, it sounds like, it sounds like you also found a community of shared interests. Which I
Yeah.
think New York is just the perfect melting pot for that. Everybody that I know who's moved to New York, people who are like, maybe having trouble making friends, which as an adult, for those of you listening, it is very hard. If it's hard for you, we'll have tons of other content about that. But this community of shared interests, I always tell people, tap into something you like. If you like knitting, go find a knitting group. If you like
Yeah,
punk rock, go find a group of people who are into punk rock because these community of shared interests, it sounds like, is what made the city feel less scary to you.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Um, Going back to the decision to move, because again, this was kind of what the conversation is supposed to be geared around, but we're going everywhere. Um, was there any kind of like emotional or practical prep you had to do to make such a bold move? Because let me just be honest, you talk about this very casually, but moving an entire country away, making such a big, bold move is to us, to some of us, is very terrifying. So I'm just curious
Yeah.
for those people who are listening, was there any kind of like emotional or practical prep you could share with them?
Yeah, I think in the first time I didn't know nothing, so I moved like unprepared. I
Mm,
didn't know what to expect when I arrived here. But in the second time, I was very prepared, like mentally, and
Hmm.
also like in a bureaucratic way, because you need to be prepared to be alone a lot of time,
Hmm.
because if you don't have any friends or if you don't have a community, so you can grow up this, you can grow this, but it takes time. So I was prepared for that. Of course I have my husband, but also I was prepared to give this first step in a new world, because okay, I lived here in 2016, but it's a long time ago, so everything changed. A lot of
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
that lived here at that time doesn't live anymore, so I need to create a new community.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm a different person since 2016, so it's like it's you need to be prepared to that, to create a new world,
Yeah.
and new friends and new community and new interests sometimes. And also, of course, you need to be prepared to leave your family and friends and your
Yeah.
community in Brazil, because sometimes it hurts to lose like some parties and some birthdays and some holidays and a lot of things that you just see on Instagram that is happening and you're not
Yeah.
there. Yeah,
Yeah.
but you get used to. And
Yeah.
if you develop a new community here, um it hurts less than being alone. So I think this is the first thing. And in a bureaucratic way, I think you need to be prepared to
For the
um
paperwork.
yeah, for the
Yeah.
paperwork. So
Yeah.
visa, and talk with peers, like a lot of people that you have had worked before. Sometimes you need some letters, sometimes you need to ask people some favors,
Yeah.
and sometimes you need to be vulnerable and talk about yourself. And also you need to be prepared to keep doing that every day. So like for example, the awards, um I need to have that, because I need to have that for my visa
Yeah.
also. So you need to be in movement all the
Yeah.
time, doing a lot of things and proving
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. So it sounds like there was some emotional and practical prep there. And I just want to make sure I'm capturing this right. So, one, prepare to be alone, but at the same time, prepare to build community. Get out there, talk to people, reignite relationships, and build a support network, it sounds like is what you did.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, be prepared for the practical work that needs to be done with a visa. For those of you listening and don't know, to get a visa to come here to work is not easy. It never has been, and it is even more difficult now.
Yeah.
And having gone through this process with a couple of artists in my 20 plus years experience, I know that it's gotten even more difficult. And to really, I think the best piece of advice you gave there, aside from, find a community and build community and get people together so you're not isolating, is talk to people who've done this before. Get some
Yeah.
practical advice from people who've done this before. Find a visa lawyer who can help you with all of it, and
Yeah.
really just like be prepared. Also, I think you pointed out something really important. Before Instagram, if you had moved, you would only hear about what was going on when you checked in with people on the phone. But now, when you move and when you leave a place that you've been in for a number of years, you have Instagram, so you can see all the things you're missing. So, like, the FOMO gets really thick, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
that's true.
we we touched on this before. I'm wondering if how you feel about this question. What was like the first, or what is the most kind of sustaining cultural shock being in the US as somebody from Brazil?
I think it is the way of living. Like in Brazil, we live in a very collective way. Like, I don't know how to explain that, but we build things together. We are always together. Like, for example, celebrating things or doing like lunch together and
Yeah.
visiting each other. And we have like this sense of belonging and like a big family. And Here is more like, I feel that, sorry about that, but I feel that is more in a individualist way.
Yeah,
You have your friends, but it's only those friends. You don't have like a big community around. It's more about your life, your feelings, your things. And
yeah.
in Brazil, you're more used to share things and to create things together, so everyone is helping each other all the time, even if you don't know that person. So it's a cliche, but it's real.
Yeah, yeah, no, I mean, I hear you, and what I'm hearing is, like, what I hear from a lot of people in the US, and this goes for us Americans as well, it can oftentimes feel like every man, woman for themselves, and
Yeah.
it can make things much more difficult, It makes the harder times harder. It makes, trying to climb that ladder of success very difficult, and from what I'm hearing from you and what's been the common theme here is that there's always community around you. You've built it, you make it, you find it, you nurture it, and it's been a really big boost and support to you through your journey of changing careers, and moving from one country to the next. We need togetherness. We need community. We need hugs.
Yeah.
um, the scientifically proven is like 8 hugs a day is what you need to like really keep your spirits up.
Getting hugs, like, you need to be prepared to not have so many hugs here. And
Yeah,
in Brazil, you have a hug like all the time, like
yeah.
from strange
sounds like
person.
it sounds like you're hugging strangers,
Yeah, it's
which I'm not
almost
mad
like
at.
that. Which is good. Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, I'm
And
really
kisses.
interested. Yeah, that too. I'm really interested in this collective way you talk about because I think this is a great segue for us to really talk about the differences and challenges of living and working as an immigrant artist during a time of like hyper political polarization and the psychological toll that it could be taking on people with ICE and all of the visa uncertainty for so many artists. Like, can you talk about that if you're comfortable? Like, what's that like? What's that experience like for you?
Yeah, I can talk about it. I don't know. I'm after those things, after those ice changes and everything that is happening every day here, I got very anxious about it because I know that I have a legal status, like I have a legal visa to work here.
Yeah,
Okay. But at the same time, I was terrified, even having that I could go to jail if I don't have my ID with me. So that is, for me, that is insane. Like, and even about like talking about things on social media, like I stopped doing that because I'm in a process of getting like green card and applying for that, and I'm
yeah,
afraid of what speaking about something could like change my life. And
yeah,
it's insane to
yeah,
think about that because in Brazil I have freedom to talk about everything, and I used to use my social media to speak about a lot of topics. And in my work also, it was a big
yeah,
thing to me. And here I continue to do that, but I'm more afraid of doing that.
yeah,
So that is like something very problematic, I think.
yeah,
In
yeah, yeah. I think a lot of people can relate to the anxieties. And
Yeah.
and for those of you who are privileged enough to not have to worry about this, and I openly admit this, like I am a cis hetero passing white male, and even I acknowledge the fact that like I don't have to worry about this, but for my friends and my loved ones and my colleagues and peers like you, I am worried. And it is really unfortunate that like you can't even express yourself the way you want to because you worry that that might jeopardize your visa process. And I just want to say, I am absolutely floored and impressed with the ability that you have to power through this. And curious about like where do you find that support for this in this specific time?
I think through other artists and other immigrants, really. Like when
Yeah,
I see a lot of immigrants around working and having their life and having a good time and celebrating something, like, I don't know, in the park or doing like the everyday things, like the daily life, living
yeah,
the daily life. I become inspired to do the same, and also to speak when I know that I can speak, like in a safe way. Like, for example, okay, I'm not talking in social media about this, but I'm doing, like, I'm putting out wet paste on the streets and doesn't have my name, but has the message that I want to to pass along. So
Yeah.
it's like, it's, I don't know, it's about to look around and to talk about talk with your friends, your immigrant friends and other artists, and that's it. We need to keep doing our work, despite of everything, because it's
Yeah.
important that we do our work, especially in those times, in these times.
Oh, okay. Thank you for sharing that. I think that the message is pretty clear, is like, find support where you can and people around you in real life. And for those of you who are feeling really concerned with having too much of a voice or presence on social media for the reasons that, Camilla listed, get out into your community, get out in real life, have discussions, witness people living their lives despite all of the challenges and adversities. And I just want to say, this goes for you and anybody. My door is always open if those challenges and adversities feel like they're too much, because I do think it is those of us who have the privilege of not having to worry about this type of thing to need to actually make space for, and can make space for people who are going through these challenges, because we can shoulder that burden through conversation and through discussion and meals and hugs, like we talked about. Um,
Yeah.
you mentioned wheat pasting, and I want to touch on your work as activism. You said something in our pre-interview, which was, I don't really think of myself as an activist, but even going back to before you had moved to Sao Paulo, you discovered a street art group who were doing wheat pastings, and like that seemed like it really threw your trajectory into the orbit. So, how your art intersects with activism, both in Brazil and the US, like, what does it mean to channel like all of that political tension into your work? Activism or no?
Oh, yeah, yeah. No, I talk about this because in I was talking with some artist friends yesterday, for a podcast, and we talked about that in Portuguese,
No.
about me not being an activist, but using my work as a way to speak about things, and
Yeah.
that's it. I'm not an activist because I think that I need to do more things to be considered as an activist in my way, in my personal way. But I know that my work is political. So I think since my beginning, before becoming an illustrator, before the street art collective, when I was in the school doing posters for protests and for political organizations and for political activities that was happening in my hometown, um, at that time I was putting my ideas on the street. So I was doing stencils and I was doing wheat paste. I was doing um, those public things. And I, at that time, I understood that going to the streets to put your ideas was the best way to approach people, because it's on the streets. You don't doesn't
Yeah.
need to ask for that. You just need to put your ideas there, and people will see what you have to, what you think, and what you want to share. And that gave me, and of course the street art collective, but also that gave me the confidence to put that in my work and to
Mm.
speak through my work. And
Yeah.
because that was when I realized that I could, like, have a style if I put my ideas in my artworks,
Mm.
and when I decided to speak through my artwork,
Yeah.
um, I became an illustrator and I found my style. It was my way to do that. I was not doing the stencils and the political posters anymore, but I was doing my work with that inside. So it was
Yeah.
like a mix of those words, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. No, and I think what you're talking about here is art as activism. Like just
Yeah.
the actual act of creating art, putting it out in the world. And you
Exactly.
beat me to it. You said it yourself. For those of you who don't know, illustrators are visual storytellers. That is the definition of illustration. You're telling a story without words. And your work has done that since the moment I've laid eyes on it. So it's really wonderful and beautiful to hear you discuss and talk about visual art as language and visual art as a way of being an activist. Even though you said I'm not doing enough to consider myself an activist, you'd be surprised most people who are activists say that. They're like, oh, I'm not doing enough, I could be doing more. But I think that's the activist spirit, period,
Yeah.
is just
Yeah.
this feeling that I could be doing more for my community, I could be doing more for the world, and I think
Yeah.
that's what makes anybody listening who's like, I want to get involved, you know this is just one of many ways you can get involved in activism safely, because this is a time in which we want to be activists, but we also want to protect ourselves and be safe, especially for the immigrant community, women, queer people, people of color.
Exactly.
It's like, being an activist is one thing, but like we do have to do it in a way that makes us feel safe as well.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true because we need to be alive
Yeah.
to keep doing our work.
Yeah.
So, and not in jail. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a way. And I think it's important to have this collaboration. Sometimes you work, like I have a lot of this in my work. Of course, I have the collaborations with brands, and I work with brands,
Yeah.
big companies. But I love to work with small companies, this like small organizations, political associations. I don't know. There's a
Yeah.
lot of different ways to put yourself and your work on those organizations, and sometimes someone is like downloading a poster and going to the streets with
Yeah.
your artwork, and that is amazing. That
Mm.
that is, it's really good. So there's a lot of ways to do that, really.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're touching on two pretty common topics lately with a lot of artists, because things are pretty slow right now. The economy has been a bit strange and it's no news to
Yes.
anybody. But one
Yeah.
of the tips that we give a lot of artists is to diversify your portfolio and diversify who you're going after. And you're saying, if I'm hearing you correctly, like, yeah, I'll work with big brands and that's all well and good, but also getting into the communities and the grassroots organizations locally or working for small businesses is another way to diversify your income, and working for like volunteer orgs or organizations that are activists, you can help them by creating artwork for them or creating
Exactly.
letters for them or helping, so there's a number of ways you can get involved in activism without directly getting outside and getting in the streets. Cause I know, again, that feels very dangerous for some people, like getting
Yeah.
out and going to protest. So I really appreciate you saying that. I want to touch on this kind of vulnerable growth period that we talked about previously, about this fear of workshops and public speaking, because I think it relates very much to art as language and what illustrators can do. Like, it transcends English or Spanish or German. It's art as a language. And can you talk me through, like, and share with everybody this kind of fear of public speaking?
Yeah, it's really crazy because I love to speak in Portuguese. Like, this is like super easy to me. I always do that. I always do talks in Portuguese. It's like super fast and super easy. But in English, it's like a different situation. I feel very vulnerable, and I feel that I'm not perfect, and I'm always trying to achieve this perfection, and or the perfect English, or the perfect
Yeah.
way to say, or the more natural way, the more natural accent. And this is impossible. But it's hard to
Yeah.
understand that, to put that on our minds, because I'm here talking with you like for like more almost 1 hour.
Almost. Yeah.
But I think that my English is not perfect, that I'm not ready, that I can't do that. So that's
Yeah.
why I decided to ask you for help, because I want to do more, like, for example, workshops. I want
Yeah.
to speak more about my work, and I want to be vulnerable, but it's so hard to be vulnerable when you don't have this control about the language,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you feel that everyone is like looking at you and talking about, oh, her English is
Yeah.
terrible. And it's not like
Yeah.
that in the real
No,
life.
no,
This
not at
doesn't
all.
happen.
Well,
And
let me just tell
especially
you.
here. Yeah.
Yeah, let me
No,
tell you
you
first
can.
and foremost, your English is great. It's fantastic.
Thank
I have not once for you or even many people who English is a second language. I'm never ever like, oh my God, their English is so horrible. If anything, I'm a bit
course.
more judgmental of like Americans who have horrible English. It's just, but it is a very, for what it's worth, and if this is helpful, it is a very common hurdle for a lot of people
Yeah.
who are either here as on a visa or immigrants or people who are even working with US clients. And I've represented a lot of artists in all over the world who have to call into US clients like, oh, I really don't want to get on a call, my English isn't good. And I'm like, listen, your English is better than my mom, trust me. But it's hard. What you're talking about is my perception is mine, but your perception is important, and that is the
Yeah.
thing that's been very hard to kind of overcome. um if there were like a role that your community is playing in helping you kind of overcome that, what is it? What is the role of the community in overcoming that?
I think it's I first realized that when I moved here the first time, I went to the public library to have English classes.
Hmm.
And that changed my life forever because I went there and it was like a very mixed group, like with older people, young people, everyone from a different place, like Colombia, Russia, Brazil, China, and
Wow.
that mix of people changed my life because I realized that a lot of people lived here for a long time and didn't know speak didn't speak English perfectly, but they were there, like being vulnerable and trying to be better and trying to improve their English and trying to communicate. And that was super helpful to me. Of course, I didn't know anything about English before that. So passing through that community, like the New York community, and seeing other immigrants trying to speak English,
Mm.
even like at 80 years
Yeah,
old,
yeah,
it was insane. And that changed my life forever because I realized that my English didn't need to be perfect. So I started to, I don't know, to understand that I could talk like that in my
yeah,
way. Um, and yeah, but I'm here. I'm trying. Like
yeah.
I'm
It
trying
sounds
every
like
day.
It sounds like that community just opened up a world of possibilities for you because there was this intergenerational vulnerability happening, right? Like somebody who's 80, and this is just proof to everybody out there who thinks it's too late to learn a language, start something new, try something different. That's proof right there. Like it is. It's proof in that community that you found. And yeah, I
Yeah,
really appreciate you sharing that. That's really special. And I didn't
it
even know that
was,
the New York Public Library taught English classes. So
and it's
that's really good
free
to know. And it's
and
free.
free.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness. Wow.
and you
Yeah.
don't need
The
to
more you
have
know.
papers to have this class. So
Fantastic. Good.
it's
That's what we
perfect.
like to
It's a
hear.
great place.
Oh,
Yeah.
fantastic. I'll get a link to that and put it in the show notes that I'm going to follow up with. Um okay, so you've given us a ton of information on your backstory, how communities influenced your artwork and helped you really become a bit more accustomed to living in the US and feeling welcomed and feeling like part of this is your home. Let's talk about any kind of like advice you might have for other artists or anybody who's thinking of moving here, like guidance for maybe an international artist considering moving to the US.
I think um, if you're moving to the US, you have to create like your career in a more global way, definitely. Like, for example, as I said before, if you want to have like a O1 visa, like a artist visa, the same
Yeah.
that I have, you need to have awards, you need to have press, so you need to speak in some events. So if you're thinking about moving here, and if you are thinking about being an artist here, an immigrant artist, you need to create that before. It's easier if you create that before
Yeah.
because you need that to have a visa. So be
Yeah.
aware of that and talk with other artists that are living here and ask them why they are doing like a lot of speeches and a lot of workshops and a lot of events. It's because we need that. We need to create this community. And also, of course, like you're gonna need to talk with the person that you already worked before, to ask them for letters and for things like that. So be a
Right.
gentle person, like
Yeah, yeah.
be a
Don't
nice
burn
person.
bridges. Yeah.
Yeah,
Nurture
because sometimes,
relationships is what I'm hearing.
yeah, exactly, exactly. Create that
Yeah.
relationship with your clients. They are not just clients; they are people that could help you, and also that you could um rely on. That's the word,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So
and I think that that's phenomenal advice, generally speaking, is to try not to look at client relationships as solely transactional. Like, if you
yeah,
can build relationships with clients, you have friends for life. Like, I have
yeah,
clients I've worked with for 20 years now who I feel like if I ever needed a O1 visa letter, I could call them and say, "Hey, I need your help," and they would do it in a moment because it's about the relationship. It's not about just the transaction, which is something we talk a lot about with the much artists. So
yeah.
forgive me, you've heard this a bunch already. So for those of you who want to recap on this, create a global career, look for awards, apply for awards, get press, go to events. But basically, what you need to do is substantiate yourself as a global artist before
Yeah.
trying to move here, because it's going to make it much more difficult if you don't have that already set up.
Yes. Perfect.
Okay. And we've already talked about this, the role of community that, played in your decision. Is it a safe bet to say that people should also think about what communities they want to be involved in or continue when they do move here?
Yeah, of course, because like especially in New York, I think because there's a lot of groups and communities, and it's like a lot of different words inside one city. So
Mm,
if you like, for example, like me, if you're a Latin person, you can try to approach those communities and those like especially the artists. There's a lot of Latin artists here, and you can share and you can create together.
hmm,
Sometimes, like doing a collab, doing exhibition together, collective exhibition. I don't know. There's a lot of ways to explore those things and those connections, and also around your neighborhood. Like for example, here, when I moved here to my neighborhood. Crown Heights, I saw some walls, like painted walls, like graffiti walls, and I was thinking about the possibility of doing that. I was like, I want to do that. It's my neighborhood. It would be special. And I sent the guy a message and I asked for a wall. And today he's like my friend. We lived like abroad, and we always like seeing each other in the streets and talking. And now I have a new friend. So it's
yeah,
good to have that in your neighborhood. So it's
yeah.
cool.
I love that you said that. I think that's really wonderful advice, and also plays back to your cultural upbringing. It's like, get to know your neighborhood. We're living in a time right now where we're kind of afraid of our neighbors. There's a lot of people who are scared to talk to their neighbors,
Yeah.
but Camilla's proof that, just reaching out to your neighbors, talking to them can build a relationship that transcends a transaction, like the mural that you painted. You've now become friends. So I think that that's really, really wonderful advice. Was there anything that you wanted to say or share that we didn't touch on today?
I don't know. I'm gonna say that to me because I always need that. Don't be afraid to show yourself to the world, especially
Mm,
in if you're in the beginning of your career. Put yourself on the streets. Put yourself on social media. Talk about yourself, about your history, or story history, and being vulnerable. I don't know. Be vulnerable. Show show yourself. Show your work. Don't be afraid. Don't wait for be perfect to have a perfect work. Like those connections are super important. Yeah.
yeah. Thank you so much. Last question, and then we'll wrap things up. And what community in your life is giving you the most hope right now?
I think mm, maybe I think maybe the immigrants and the immigrants immigrant artists. When I saw people speaking about all those situations and doing artworks, talking about the situation that we are living here in the US and showing their work and celebrating our culture, our heritage, that gives me a lot of inspiration to do the same. So I think, yeah, and also, of course, my Brazilian community, I think we are doing a great job right now, especially in politics in Brazil. We are showing the world that we can do the right things. So, yeah, I think all of them.
Oh, great. Well, thank you so much, Camilla, for sharing your journey. This is the first of many interviews I hope to do. This is exactly why I created the community, and just to hold space for stories like yours. Before we let you go, can you just really plug this shit out of yourself? Like, tell people where to find you on Instagram, your website, anything that you have coming out or show or anything. Now is the time to do it, and I'll make sure it hits the show notes too.
Okay. You can find me on Instagram. My account there is CamiXDX. And you can find also my website, which is camilarosa.net. And yeah, and on Google, you can just put my name there and you're gonna find a lot of things.
Amazing. I also want to say Camilla donated her time to You're Not Alone murals back in the spring. And if you're down near the
Yay!
seaport, go to the left of the Tin Building. You'll see a large wall with several artists' works on it, and Camilla's is front and center. And it was an absolute pleasure to watch you paint live and to see your work, and to have since then welcomed you to the Much Creative community. I'm really looking forward to seeing you continue to grow. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me. On mural was like definitely a big day and a happy day to share. So thank
Yeah,
you.
you're welcome. All right. Camilla, thank you so much. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.